Hi, welcome to the Builders and Thinkers podcast, the Builders and Thinkers show. I haven't really named this yet, but I guess I will. I will by episode 2. But this is the first one anyway. So I'll tell you. I'll tell you why I actually even started this. Even though I used to have a podcast before, the Growing Startup podcast on iTunes, I shut it down after a while because I was getting too busy. But I'll tell you why I started this. So I was talking to this guy who bought one of my books, and I went to meet him in his office to help him with his business, just as a thank you, really. And I wanted to know more about him and what he's done and his journey in business. And I realized that he knew a lot of things that were common sense to him, but they were not common sense to me because he's in the travel industry, right? So he understands stuff about like how to find like the best beaches and how to use like Google Maps to tell which beaches have blue water, which beaches have like brown water, and which beaches have teal water. It was really really fascinating stuff. He knows what cards you should get so that you can get like 100,000 miles in 3 months. A lot of really really cool things. How to travel the world on less than like $3,000, and really really cool. But anyway, so I was asking him why he wasn't sharing his story and all these tips and stuff like that. And he was telling me how, oh, this is common sense. Like a lot of people can Google this, and why would anyone pay him? And he wouldn't pay for it and stuff like that. And it reminded me of something that happened with a client that I had before, where she was the only one I think in her town who didn't use cake mix for her cakes. And she thought that, well, I mean, it's no big deal. It's not something that I should like talk about. And then she also had some other things that she did that she felt were common sense when it came to baking and stuff like that. But I kept telling her that these are the things that make you different from other people. These are the things that make you different from other entrepreneurs. So you should share them. And unfortunately, she never did. And I don't know if he will share the stuff that I've told him to share. But I've realized that I keep telling clients, customers, um, mentees, and the companies that I advise the same things over and over and over again. So I thought about it that, you know what, I'm going to start sharing these things that I share with like my mastermind group and my close friends and my family and my clients who pay me. I'm going to start sharing them with other people who may not get the opportunity to actually meet me in person. And so that's the first reason that I'm sharing it, so that I can help other people. Secondly, a lot of people, ask for like meetings and Skype calls and so on and so forth. And usually they ask kind of like the same questions. So I decided that this will also serve as kind of like a reference. So if you call or text or whatever, you say, hey, like, can we meet? And this is what I want to talk about. I can easily send you one of these audios, and it will answer your question without us actually meeting, unless we do have to meet. And so I'll share like the first thing. One of the first things that people ask me is, like, how did you find success? What do I do to become more successful in my business and stuff like that? And it's really really simple. The the basis that everyone should do, like the basic thing that everyone should do, is to first discover the things that come easily to you. Like what are the things that are a no-brainer for you? Things that for you are really just common sense. They are things that you were born with, your unique ability. I heard someone say that the things that are factory installed, the things that actually came with you, like you didn't have to learn it. It's like that easy for you. Kind of like how it's probably really really easy for Beyonce to do what she does, or Ben Carson to do what he does, or anybody who has been really successful, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and so on. Warren Buffett actually does say that by the age of 9, he had read all the, I think, finance books in the Nebraska Public Library. And I mean, at 9 years old, how are you even thinking about finance books? You know what I mean? But he talks about how that was what came like factory installed. That was what was his like natural gift, natural interest. It doesn't have to be a gift. It can be like a very very deep interest, a very very deep passion. So, like for me, I've always loved marketing and communication and advertising and entrepreneurship and those kind of things. So I just needed to find out which of them I was going to focus on. So that's why I've done branding, I've done copywriting, I've done marketing, I've done sales, I've done business development, I've done partnerships. I've done like all these things that have to do with getting a customer to buy a product. And I found that like I'm really, really good at that. I'm really, really good at advertising. I'm really, really good at marketing and so on. So, and it comes naturally to me. It's not something that I have to think about. So what I would say is that the first thing, you have to discover what that is for you. Sometimes you may not necessarily know, but someone else will. And many times it's not just one thing, but there'll be one of them that is more dominant than the rest. So, for example, you find a lot of people who are into entertainment, they have the trifecta, right? They can sing, they can dance, they can act. But let's take Jamie Foxx, for example. He can sing, I don't know if I've seen him dance, but at least he can act. But he's more known for being an actor. As to whether he's a better actor than a singer, I'm not sure. But at least, he's discovered the things that come naturally to him and he's developed them. So that goes to the second thing. The second thing is that you have to develop these gifts. You have to develop them by training, by reading, by practice, by learning from people who have done them before you. Like I've read like the top 5 advertising books, top 5 marketing books, the top 5 sales books, and I keep reading more and more and more and more of those to develop myself. When Buffett talks about how he reads 6 hours a day, like so many people talk about how they read a lot and so on. There's a reason for that. It's not so much about the reading, it's about the knowledge acquisition that develops the gifts that you already have. Because you don't know everything, so it's important. And people talk about, should you go to college or should you not and stuff. I'll probably add that in another message or podcast. I think I'll call this a podcast later. So the first thing, discover what comes to you naturally. Second thing, develop it through practice, study, training, apprenticeship, any way that you can. And the third thing is that you have to turn it into a product. So you have to, and the product could be that you could like get a job somewhere and excel at that role, like an accountant, right? You can like actually build something. You can teach it, but basically you have to have proof that you've developed this gift. You can't say that, well, I've developed my gift of singing, and yet we don't see your songs. Like, where are your songs? You can't say that I've developed my gift of sales, and yet you haven't worked for a company or tried to sell anything to someone. You have to do that. And then the last thing would be to promote yourself in that area. It's not enough to be good at something. There are a lot of people who are good at a lot of things. I think someone told me that when Tony Robbins first came up, every shrink was like angry, and all these NL people were angry because they're like, well, they know better than him. What are his qualifications and so on and so forth. But the thing is that he wasn't waiting for qualifications. Like, who says you need qualifications, right? And that's actually very difficult for a lot of people to accept. And because it's difficult for them, they never take any action. And I'll tell you, I've been in business. I've been doing these things, for like the last 11 years. And I will probably say that I don't think one client has ever asked me where I went to college or what qualifications that I have. Because everybody cares about results. And especially, let me not say everybody, but the people who matter care about results. The people who don't matter care about, things that don't matter, really. Unless what you're doing really does need like a qualification to get where you need to get to, don't worry about it. Because unless you're like a surgeon, there you probably need a qualification before someone would want you to operate on them. But this will probably be one of the longer podcasts. I think it's going on like 10 minutes, but I'll try to do this more often. I'll try to do this at least once a day, just to keep it going, and also to prove to other people that, right now I'm recording this on my Kindle. I'm not using like a proper mic or anything like that. So it probably doesn't even sound, the best, but I don't care. That what matters is that I'm actually delivering the value and people are getting the value. And that's a lesson that I'll probably share later about how just get up and do it. Provide the value. Don't worry about all the technicalities and so on. There are people who have tried to start businesses and they've been talking about it for the last 5 years. But they can just start with what they have. Start by starting the restaurant in your room, and then you can start a restaurant later somewhere else. But you have to start cooking at home before you get the big restaurant and so on and so forth. So this is me cooking at home. So thank you for listening. Check out GrowingStartup.com/ I think I'll put this at podcast. Yeah. So GrowingStartup.com/podcast, and that, you see how I'm trying to wing it. So we'll see how it goes. But probably by the second or third one, I'll get my flow. Email me at jeff@GrowingStartup.com if you have any particular questions, and I'll add it, and maybe I'll even give a shout out to your business and your name if it's necessary. So thank you, and God bless you. Bye bye.